Good morning and welcome to the shop and welcome to the first video of 2023. Unfortunately, one of the most emotionally burdensome projects that woodturners are often asked to do is to create funerary urns. And this year's no different. The first request is for an urn. I'm not just a woodturner, I'm also a published author. I've written and published 2 books on PTSD service dogs, one aimed primarily at the veteran community, but the information is applicable to anybody except for the chapter about the VA, and a children's book titled, Why Is That Doggy in This Store? And as part of my efforts to give back to the service dog handling community, I offer urns for deceased service dogs free of charge, and I got my first request. So, as somber as it is, my first piece will be a funerary urn. However, I also get to do a product review. Now, I'm not being paid for this. I purchased this, but the Ruth Niles Bottle Stopper Company has a new product, and that is threaded bronze inserts. So, I'll do a product review, and first and foremost, right out of the package, I'm going to tell you this is a beautifully made insert. It's cut cleanly, it's machined very well, and I'm sure you can see that it's got little slots angled so that when you cement it in, it's not going to pull out of your piece. So as part of the production of this urn, I am going to detail the installation of these rings, how I do it, and then give my honest review of working with it. But so far, I can tell you this is a really, it spins freely. It's cleaner threads than any plumbing fitting that I've had to modify in order to serve the same purpose. This is the 2.5 inch and it is actually 2.5 inches. It is 2.5 inches across. They also have a 3.5 inch. When you go in to purchase it, there's a little drop box and you can choose between 2.5 and 3.5 inches. The volume of the urn I need to create is approximately 100 cubic inches. So I have a piece of cherry selected that I'm going to do a little prep work with on the bandsaw, and we will get it on the lathe. So stick around and watch as I create an urn and talk you through using this product. It's wet wood, so I've got it hollowed out roughly an inch thick, might be a little bit thicker. And what I'm going to do to dry it out is fill it and then embed it in silica gel. So one of the things I need to do is to make sure that this is the volume it needs to be. It's for roughly 75-pound animal remains. So I'm going to make it 100 cubic inches, which I believe, if I remember correctly, is 7 cups. So I have a 1 cup measure here. And I'll go ahead and hold it over the bucket and fill it. And we'll see that if it makes it. Okay, so that's completely filled and completely submerged, immersed, covered. This is indicating silica, so it's dry when it's dark blue, and as it absorbs moisture, it will lighten up to a pinkish color. So I'm going to leave that for 48 hours, and this clocked in at 17% moisture on the side grain and 21% on the end grain before I started turning it, and it will be dry in 48 hours. Okay, so this has been in the bucket with the indicating silica gel. A couple of days. See, the gel turns pink as it absorbs moisture. Recharge this gel by putting it in disposable turkey pans, roaster pans, in your oven at 250 degrees for about 4 hours, and it turns from pink back to blue as it dries out, as it dehydrates in your oven. And then keep it sealed tightly with a bucket and it'll stay dry until your next use. Well, As I did expect, this did develop some cracks. They are not too terrible. However, they do need to be dealt with. And of course, in this day and age, the way we do that is with resin. What I did not expect is, even though this was very, very wet and it expanded and it did develop cracks, it did not get oblong. So you can see my foot here, my tenon is still pretty intact, and I did open the openings just wide enough that I could get in there with the 60 millimeter jaws on my Novichok, while this is actually sized for the larger jaws on my other chuck, which is also a Novichok. I just happen to have two, which is very nice to have. So what I'm going to do is hot glue some dams, essentially, and then I'm going to take this in the house because it is too cold to do it outside, and I'm going to do some light resin repairs. It's going to take me a day or two to do that. I'm going to do that off camera. It's a lot of work and pretty tedious. So this has been in the silica gel drying for about 3 days now, and it's going to take another 2 or 3 days for the resin to dry. But the good news is it is intact. It didn't blow apart, and I'm going to be able to fill all these gaps, and it should turn out looking very, very nice. So next time you see this piece, it's going to be back here on the lathe, and we will be concluding the hollowing. We're going to hollow it out a little bit more. This holds 5 cups of the silica gels. It needs to hold 7 cups, but that's going to be, I left it about an inch thick. You're supposed to do that before you put pieces in the gel to dry. You need to turn it down to about an inch thick. So I've got plenty of room, and 1/4 of an inch is going to add a full cup. So I get a 1/2 inch on the outside, and then clean up, or on the inside, and then clean up the outside. And I think we'll have a very nice little urn. Okay, so I patched up all these cracks. It's been a couple of days. The first thing I need to do is clean up the base here so that when I put these in the jaws, they're level and the piece is square. So I'm going to clean this up real quick, and we will get it turned around, clean up the resin on the outside, and then finish hollowing. All right, let me get this turned around. I want to put this on the other chuck. Get it reversed. And then I'll once I get this part turned, I'll worry about patching any little voids. I've got little tiny voids here, but I think I can mix some medium CA with the same mica and get a pretty much identical finish. I don't think it'll change it much. So I'm taking forest green mica powder, which is the same color as what I used in the resin that I filled it with, and not that. Medium cyanoacrylate, and I'm using medium because it's going to run a little. It's going to draw in via capillary action a little bit better than thick wood. And I've only got about a minute and a half open time here before that CA starts setting. Now, I didn't use the CA to do this before because of volume. It would have taken far more CA glue than I have available, but the two-part epoxy, which is very thick, was more than appropriate for that volume. I gotta hit that with accelerator so when I flip it over to the other holes it doesn't just drip off. A little bit. Usually we wood turners end up taking plumbing fittings and retrofitting them, changing them, but this is actually made specifically for lidded vessels. So what I'm going to do is it's too big. There we go. So that is the diameter I need to cut to, and I'm going to sneak up on it because I want this to be a very tight fit. So we'll use a parting tool, and I've already set myself a depth to cut to. I'll probably sneak up on that too, just so I make sure that I'm really snug and really well aligned. I'm going to look down the shaft of the tool and line it up with the bedways of the lathe so that I am parallel to them, meaning I'm making a perfectly straight cut, perpendicular to the top of the piece. I'm going to stop a little shy of my mark. There's a mark on the inside rim there. I'm going to stop just shy of it. I'm going to come a little bit wider. So what we're going to do is turn this around, put a tenon on it, flip it around in the chuck, and cut the recess for this bronze fitting, for the male bronze fitting, and do nothing else, because I want to test how well machined this is, what its alignment is. I have the impression, just from handling it, that this is very well machined, very good tolerances. And the way I'm going to confirm the tolerances on this is I'm going to put my rudimentary lid, because I'm not going to complete it, on the vessel, and then after the epoxy has set, put the vessel, which is still in its chuck, so it has not moved, together with the lid and back in between centers, and it should leave my center point, should still be there, and it should line up exactly if these are as true to the tolerances as I believe they are. So we'll see. It's not necessarily a scientific test as much as it is. I just have, from observing it, from handling it while I'm prepping this urn, pretty sure that the tolerances are that good. So we shall see. All right, so the same thing, we're going to set the outer diameter, which should be precisely 2.5 inches, because again, this is machined to pretty exacting tolerances, and it is. That is 2.5 inches. I'm going to slow the lathe down, bring my tail center up to just about dead on center. And just touching with this side, because if I touch it with this side, it'll pick to the caliper up and launch it at me. I'm going to mark. There we go. So we've got the lid complete. I did some touch up on the body of the vessel here, of the urn. So we're going to go ahead and pull the lid off of the chuck. We're going to put the urn in its chuck back on the lathe, and then we're going to do some final, just some really light touch-ups with it. Mostly shear scraping. I just need to remove a little bit of excess CA and clean it up, and then it's the sanding process after I fit the lid and turn the lid. So this is going to be the test as to the alignment of the Niles bronze fittings, bronze threaded fittings. So we're going to get the top of the urn cleaned first, get it where exactly where I want it because it's not quite there, and then we'll put the we'll screw the lid on, and that's going to be kind of the proof in the pudding, as it were, as to the accuracy of the machining of these bronze inserts from Niles stoppers. I have a suspicion they're going to be pretty much dead on, probably closer to dead on than I could do on my lathe. So we're going to do a little turning, little turning, and then screw it on and test it out. It's ready for sanding. I just need to work on the outside, but first we're going to shape this lid. So, that fitment is beautiful. That just, boom. It is right there. Really like that fitment a lot. We'll bring up the tailstock, both for a little bit of security. Okay. So again, I feel like it did move a little. I did have to leave myself a little space so that the resin, the two-part epoxy, could get in there, and so I may not be perfectly aligned, or it might be dead on. So right here I can tell you that as I thought when I was just working with it, just holding it, the machining is impeccable. This thing is aligned incredibly nicely. So I would highly recommend the NilesStoppers.com bronze inserts for lidded pieces. They are definitely not inexpensive. However, for urns, I think it's more than appropriate to take on that little bit of expense, because I'm telling you, that is dead on. That is absolutely perfectly aligned. So I'm going to give 2 thumbs up to the Niles Stopper bronze inserts. I think that it's fantastic. I really do. Let's turn this lid. Well, here it is. I haven't applied the finish yet, but you can see what it looks like. I am very impressed with the Niles Stopper bronze fittings. I think they are ideal if you don't have the time, or are just, if you're just looking for fittings for an urn or a lidded box, and you really don't want to modify a plumbing fitting. They're ideal. They are absolutely ideal. They're definitely machined to much higher standards than plumbing fittings. As you can see, that tightens and loosens just smooth as can be. So here's my urn. I will be putting Brad's workbench tongue honey on this, leaving it overnight, and then just hand buffing it in the morning and have a real nice hand polished look to it. But this cherry and this walnut both this is without finish even. This is just using the abrasive paste. They really come up to a good high, very beautiful shine. So that's the first video of 2023. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. And remember, just one more pass means put the bowl gouge down.